In times past, two officers who were like brothers escorted a prisoner through a forest. The prisoner saw an opportunity to escape and fled. The officers lost the prisoner in the forest and agreed to split up but meet under a nearby bridge before sunset. After an unsuccessful search, one of the officers arrived under the bridge and waited for his partner. A storm developed and flooded the area. Landslides delayed the second officer as he struggled through the forest. The bridge brought a smile to his face, but his partner's drowned corpse floated downstream. The officer's delay caused his partner's death. He cried and hung himself for atonement. But the heavenly Jade Emperor saw the actions of the devoted officers and enlisted them in the afterlife. The officers became China's two Grim Reapers, Heibai Wuchang. And this is Legends from the Pacific. Aloha, and thank you for joining us. This is Legends from the Pacific, episode 28, China's two Grim Reapers, Heibai Wuchang. I am Kamuela Kaneshiro. This wraps up our 4-part Ghost Month celebration. Listeners, did you know our show's website has a fan art section? Swing on by legendsfromthepacific.com to see it, and send me your art today. Later in this episode, shoutouts to our fans, your featured song and Hawaiian word, but first, Heibai Wuchang. Okay, it's believed China's afterlife is structured like a bureaucracy, and all of the gods, deities, and spirits play their role to ensure things run smoothly. So the god of hell, King Yama, doesn't leave his domain to do other things like collect souls. Instead, he delegates things to his staff. With this in mind, it seems natural that two officers became Grim Reapers. The two Reapers, or Heibai Wuchang, translates to black and white impermanence. This is because there's a black and white Reaper. It's said the officer who drowned was Heibai An. Because he drowned, he developed pale skin, a long tongue, and wears white robes. The black-robed Reaper, Fan Wujiu, has dark skin from his hanging and scurrying in the mud. Personality-wise, the White Reaper is compassionate, while the Black Reaper is coarse or pushy. Interestingly enough, people pray to the dual, for it is believed they grant luck and fortune. As a side note, the two Reapers are sometimes referred to as guards because their duties include enforcing the laws of hell on its inhabitants. Still to come, shoutouts to some of our fans, your featured song and Hawaiian word, but now, a story. The following is a Legends from the Pacific original story and is based on cultural testimony. A wealthy merchant loved his daughter, but smallpox scarred her beautiful face. She tried overcoming her appearance, but it eventually diminished her confidence. The merchant worried about his daughter's future and asked a servant to marry her. The servant knew he'd inherit the merchant's wealth and agreed. The daughter was happy and had 2 children, but her father's health deteriorated, and the servant began spending his future inheritance in gambling halls or indulging his carnal desires. Every day the daughter visited her ill father. Every day her husband asked if her father died yet, while leaving for another debaucherous night. She once pled for her husband to stay home with his family. He lashed out against her, admitted he despised her ugly, scarred face, and left. The heartbroken wife continued visiting her father. He apologized for picking a horrible husband and begged her forgiveness. She forgave him and left at her usual time to start her family's dinner. She stopped in the streets and cried. A man asked what was wrong. The stranger wore white robes and had fair skin. The frustrated wife sobbed as she told the stranger her story. Her story angered the stranger, and he pitied her. She thanked him for listening and apologized that she needed to get home to make her family's dinner. She hurried home. The white-robed stranger lingered in the street, then continued on his way. She entered her house, but was confronted by collectors demanding payment for her husband's gambling debt. She gave them all her money. It wasn't enough. She told them she'd get the rest from her father tomorrow. They grabbed her and suggested another way she could pay her husband's debt. A messenger interrupted the collectors. They emphasized they'll see her tomorrow and left. The messenger told her her father passed and left. The unbalanced woman saw her unloved future under her neglectful husband's heel. But there was another way. With tearful eyes, she gathered rope, secured it, and prepared to hang herself. Her front door opened. The white-robed stranger entered with her 2 children, who asked their mother what she was doing. She said nothing and embraced them. The stranger said the woman's children needed her. He suggested they gather their belongings and leave. She agreed. As the family left, the white-robed stranger handed the mother a small fortune and said, "Your father wanted you to have this." The servant celebrated his inheritance in town, but a fire stopped his party. The village watched as a mysterious fire devoured buildings in minutes. The servant's home was destroyed. His family were presumed dead, but he didn't care because the other devastated buildings were his inheritance. He lost his family, fortune, and faced a mountain of debt. In another town, people loved their new resident, whose scarred face was eclipsed by her incredible smile, joyful personality, and love for her 2 amazing children. Coming up, shoutouts to our fans, your featured song and Hawaiian word. Listeners, support us by encouraging 2 or 3 of your friends to listen to our show. Halloween is around the corner, and I'm sure they'll appreciate you recommending our show to them. Today, people worship the white and black reapers in temples and hope they'll bestow good luck or give them winning lottery numbers. This whole white and black thing reminds me of Mad Magazine's Spy vs. Spy. I love those guys. If you like what you heard, please give us a rating, write a review, and share Legends from the Pacific with your friends and family. I'd really appreciate it. A big mahalo nui loa to Lilikoi Mango, who gave us 5 stars on Apple Podcast and took the time to leave us a glowing review. Our show's basically a one-man operation run by me, and our episodes take a lot of time to produce. So your reviews and feedback really mean a lot to me. Once again, mahalo nui loa to Lilikoi Mango. Our theme song is Mystery by Tavana, courtesy of High Sessions. Sound effects are by Sound Effects Factory. Our music coordinator is Matt Duffy, aka DJ TripleBypass. Links and show notes can be found on our website, legendsfromthepacific.com, including a link to your featured song, which is Down in Paradise by Manoa DNA, courtesy of High Sessions. Legends from the Pacific was written, produced, and edited by me, Kamuela Kaneshiro. I also wrote our original stories. Your featured Hawaiian word is ho'aloha. Ho'aloha means friend. An example for ho'aloha is, it's best to celebrate parties with your family, and ho'aloha. Once again, ho'aloha is Hawaiian for friend. Thank you once again for listening. Mahalo and ahui ho.
We are cruising down in paradise.